584 insurgents from National Liberation Front of Tripura, NLFT, and all Tripura Tiger Force, ATTF, surrendered their arms. NLFT and ATTF laid down their weapons before Chief Minister Manik Saha at a formal surrender ceremony at Agartala. The outfits had signed a peace agreement with the centre and Tripura government in New Delhi on September 4th in the presence of Union Home Minister Amit Shah. The Home Minister announced a special financial package of Rs 250 crore for the rehabilitation of the former militants and welfare of the tribals in Tripura. Tripura CM Manik Saha declared that the state is insurgency-free after insurgents laid down their arms. He said that the surrender of the insurgents in Tripura was a significant development towards fulfillment of Modi government's promise of making the Northeast free from the problem of militancy. Let's listen.
ये एनएलएफटी और एटीटीएफ का आज का जो यहाँ पर ये लोग आर्म्स एंड एम्यूनिशन ये जो सरेंडर किया है, तो मैं समझता हूँ त्रिपुरा में आप कोई उग्रवादी संस्था कोई है ही नहीं है, और इसके लिए मैं माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी को मैं धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ। और ये एनएलएफटी और एटीटीएफ का जो मेंबर्स है जो आज सरेंडर किया है, मैं इन लोगों को स्वागत करता हूँ।
12 insurgent groups from the northeast joined the mainstream. So can we say that the centre has been successful in ending insurgency in northeast? On this, I am joined by Suhas Chakma, Director Rights and Risk Analysis Group, Major General Ashwini Siwach, and Brijesh Pandey with me. I'll straight away go to Suhas. Suhas, is this a successful case of bringing militancy to an end in a state? Something which we say it happened in Punjab. Can we say that Tripura is a case of success in northeast? Can it be said?
Well, I think Tripura is definitely, this is a very significant initiative, but this initiative has been going on for a long time prior to the elections in Bangladesh. So it has taken months for this process to be successful. If this process was not successful, you can imagine the impact it would have had after the change of government in Bangladesh. So from a national security perspective, I think this was a very timely intervention, an initiative which was taken to the logical conclusion. If this process was not started before the end of, or before the elections in Bangladesh, this would have been extremely difficult, because you have an adversarial government in Bangladesh. Those who follow the Indo-Bangladesh relationship, please remember, each time the government of Bangladesh had betrayed, often is misusing the issues in India. So if you look at today, it's not only the BNP government. Please remember, each and every government of today in Bangladesh, they sought to, in a way, betray whatever the government of India had done. And I'll give one specific example. In 1997, the government of India facilitated the return of the Chakma and other tribal refugees who went back after signing the peace accord. The government of Bangladesh at that point of time, headed by Sheikh Hasina, had not reciprocated. And therefore, the insurgency continued. In fact, the BNP went on to support some of the armed groups, including Ulfa and others. And it was only in 2010, after, Hasina came back second time after 13 years, that Hasina took measures and sent back some of the Indian insurgent groups from 2010, 11, 12 onwards. And if this measure was not taken before the elections in Bangladesh, I think it would have been disaster for India.
Okay, I think that's an interesting point. General Siwach, I remember in 2015 there was a photo which was put out, if you recall, the Naga photo. If you recall, in 2015 that that the government is close with the Naga insurgents in bringing about some sort of a peace accord. What explains the success in Tripura, one, sir? And why the process with the Nagas still continue in the limbo? Why has Tripura become a success story? You can delve into that.
Kartika, I in fact is involved in Northeast for almost 20-30 years. I saw that insurgency first in Mizoram. that was in 74 to 77 when efforts were being made for negotiation. Negotiation takes almost 7 to 8 years. I still remember Brigadier
About Lal
Byakchunga,
Denga
who
Accord?
was
Are you talking about the Lal Denga Accord?
yeah, no, yeah. Just tell you.
Okay.
Brigadier Byakchunga, who was the MNA commander, Major National Army commander, and Lal Denga was the MNF political commander. And they were in Chittagong Hills as well as they are in Myanmar. And they used to come, there is a place called Parwa, which is on a triangle of India, Bangladesh, and Myanmar. And they used to be picked up from the helicopter and then they used to come to Aizawl. Ultimately, this accord was signed in 1984, but the groundwork started somewhere in 77, 78. When I was there in Mizoram, this process already started, though the militancy was still there with the MNF, but ultimately a very good accord was signed in 1984, and once for all, the militancy of Mizoram was sorted out. So this was one of those pact, one can say with pride, that has gone through, and this is still been intact, and there is a peace which is prevailing in Mizoram. Now, then I was involved in, especially in Assam, for a long time, especially when this NDFB and ULFA were there. NDFB is a National Democratic Front of Bodos, which is mainly prevalent in Kokrajhar, Bogaigaon, and a few districts of Upper Assam. Now, these all camps were initially in Bhutan. However, in 1998, 1999, and 2000, along with the Bhutanese National Army, we have carried out operation very close to Bhutan border, and they carried out in Bhutan, and all these camps were busted. But these camps, they delocated from there and they came in Chittagong Hill. And from Bangladesh, all militant groups were operating, be it the Assam militant group, which were ULFA and mainly NDFB, and also basically Bodo Liberation Army, BLA, BLTF, they were also functioning. However, when Sheikh Hasina came second time in 2009, she has had a very good relation with India, and she mainly, what she did is she did not give them a shelter in Chittagong, and they were thrown out from Chittagong. Either they were handed over to India, or they surrendered, or they located them in Myanmar. So that is a very success story which has happened, that point of time, that one can say with a lot of conviction that if the peace is prevailing in Northeast, one can say that there is a lot of dependence on Sheikh Hasina also. From 2009 onward, she has cooperated with India, and a number of militant groups have, signed a peace accord. 12 peace accord has been signed over a period of time. So Assam is also another success story which has happened over a period of time. Now, as far as Tripura is concerned, Tripura has got a border between India and Bangladesh, about 856 kilometers. It has also got a border with Assam, and it has also got a border with Mizoram. Now, both the groups, NLFT and ATTF, that is basically National Liberation Front of Tripura and All Tripura Tiger Force. Now, both these groups were active. The talks were going on. Very rightly brought out by my co-panelists. Now, the way things are happening in Bangladesh, we know it for sure. The ISI is operating there, and they will now open again those camps which were closed once upon a time in Chittagong. And you will find it, some militant groups will start opening these camps there. And therefore, this is a very good move done by the Indian government, that before Bangladesh election, this accord was in progress, and the accord was signed. And today, it's a very good news that they have now come overboard. They have surrendered their weapons. 250 crore rupees has been given by the center for their rehabilitation. They will, I'm sure, they will be taken in either in police or they will be taken in paramilitary force, so that they get a suitable job. That is very important. Otherwise, majority of the time it is seen why such accord failed. They again recycle and they again become militant in case they do not have any job. So that point has to be taken into care. But overall, a very good move done by it. if I remember very correctly, when I was in Mizoram, there was Chakma population. They have also come from basically from Chittagong, because there are Mizos which stays on the higher reaches, and the Chakmas which are basically on the riverbed.
Okay.
And there are Chakmas in Tripura also. There are Chakmas in Arunachal also. So those, they still do not have, I suppose, the complete rights which they are
Correct.
supposed to get it. I'm sure that process is on.
Okay.
But all said and done, a good move, and we are happy that such a pact has been signed, and we
Okay.
only hope and pray this remains successful.
Okay, wonderful. You stay with me, Brijesh. In Prime Minister Modi's policy, the entire push was, redeveloping, reconceiving, reimagining Northeast. Some parts have worked, some parts have not worked. Tripura, it worked.
Well, I think, one of the key policies decision which the Prime Minister took was his Act Northeast policy. And I remember, when we were covering there inside the Parliament, there was a diktat which was given to all the ministers that every 15 days, one central minister would visit one of the northeastern state and, make sure that the development and the feeling of being part of the mainland India is there. And that is, I personally believe that is one of the best policy which was taken by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and till now, by and large, they have been extremely successful with it. As General very rightly pointed out, I mean, it's a big and a very successful move which happened today. But I agree with the last lines of the General, when he said that there are times when you get these surrenders done, but the rehabilitation process takes more than what is required, and that again led these groups to part ways with the government, because they also have to earn their living, and they also have to make sure that they stay relevant and not let go of. I think the only drawback which the Prime Minister's Act Northeast policy has suffered till date was the Manipur crisis which is going on.
Okay.
Other than Manipur crisis, I think by and large they have been fairly successful in the kind of reach out it has done. Tripura was a sweet victory for them, breaching one of the last few citadels of the left bastion, forming government there for the first time. So by and large, they have been extremely successful, barring Manipur.
Okay, so this is a question for both Mr. Chakma and General Siwach. Lal Denga Accord, Mizoram, these accords, Tripura. Why has Naga militancy been frozen in time? It's going to be the 11th year of this government. What is the difference that Tripura has been able to deal in context of militants, ended, but not the Naga issue?
Well, I think Naga issue involves demarcation of boundaries. First of all, NSC and I would like to say that they want sovereign Nagaland, so they refer it to as Indo-Naga dialogue. It started on 25th July 1997, so it's going to complete almost 30 years very soon. And even if you take out that sovereignty part, they still demand Nagaland, which includes parts of Manipur. Now, in India, creating a state is a very difficult process and controversial process. It might be easier for the government of India to take some parts of the land from other countries than actually split the country. So if tomorrow the Nagas are going to see or demand that all the Naga inhabited areas should be united, then India would face serious amount of opposition from, say, for example, their demands include from Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, then Manipur, and Manipur, territorial integrity is a bigger issue. So in that sense, I think, the political demands basically made the government of India to freeze the entire process. On the other hand, if you look at Tripura, it has been there, I think people have been living together. It has its own conflict because of the immigration and etc. from after the partition of India. Then if you look at it, I think one of the major role being played in Tripura is by Maharaja Pradut Maniko himself. He's actively involved in the negotiation with this NLFT and the TTF. He himself was present here. The brew issue in Mizoram, which was created. Then, I actually at some point in time acted as the interlocutor of the government of India. I was able to convince them. Then, Maharaja, came in. Then he resolved the brew issue. So Maharaja has a presence in the community and in the state itself, being the Maharaja of Tripura. So, how do I describe it? So his acceptability goes, pervades the ethnic divisions in the state. So when he plays a critical role, I think people have the confidence that at least we have a leader whom we could trust. I think if you look at today, I think one of the role which he played is that despite not having some elected position in the TTADC, Tripura Tribal Areas Autonomous District Council, he doesn't hold any kind of position formally. So this moral voice is very, very important. And I think Maharaja Pradip Maniku in Tripura had conveyed or has been able to convince his own people in the entire state, irrespective of caste, religion, or physical features. So I mean, I think each state requires somebody who would take this forward. That's why I think Tripura was not easy. Today it looks easy, but it was not easy to convince people to cross over to the border. It was really, really not easy, and those who were involved in it, they know how difficult it was.
Okay, General Siwach, Mr. Chakma is saying that Tripura was not easy. Today it might look easy, it was not easy then. So my question to our, to you is, what makes Tripura different from the Naga issue? Because the effort that the government has put in Naga issue from a bipartisan perspective is tremendous.
Very correct. You see, Kartike, first of all, it's a very complex problem because they are asking for a greater Nagaland. So they are not only asking the area which is of Nagaland, also certain portion of Manipur and certain portion of Mizoram and some portion of even Assam. Now, and another issue is that they want a separate constitution, they want a separate flag. So therefore, they are hard not to crack. The government of India has signed some sort of understanding with the NSC and IM. But NSC and Kapalang is one which is still not coming on board. But the efforts are going on. I suppose that in time to come, some sort of pact will be signed with the Nagas. Because what happened within Nagaland also, I served there for almost about 4 or 5 years, that there are number of tribes. And so therefore, the point which is coming, it is complex. And how you can crack it, what we did in Mizoram, what did we do right in Mizoram? There, the church played a very positive role. The church has got a good strong hold in the public. And the church played such a positive role in Mizoram that the pact was signed. I suppose that here also Nagaland, church can play a very major role. It is a complex problem, but government of India is making a sincere effort, especially with NSC and Kapla. Now, another issue is as far as Nagaland is concerned, the roots of this problem is in Myanmar. That is the biggest problem, and they were if you see, the mother of the terrorist organization in Northeast is NSCN, and they are the one which were trained initially in China. The China has earlier paid a lot of resources to NSCN. So they were the mother organization, and still we have not able to sign a pact. I sure the government of India is very, very sincere in its effort. It has already, by and large, able to negotiate with 50 to 60% of the Naga group, especially NSC and IM. NSC in Kaplang is the one which is a major group which is left.
It's a frozen conflict. General, is it correct to say it's a frozen conflict?
It is a frozen conflict because there is no insurgency otherwise in Nagaland as on today. People, by and large, are able to move. Though, as far as Manipur is concerned, now you must compare it with Manipur. Manipur, there were certain areas, still there was insurgency there. The People Liberation Army was a big problem there. But that we resolved it. But what is so different in Manipur is, though the insurgency has come down, one is 1992 when the sort of clash took place between Nagas and also Kukis. Thereafter, there was almost a peace. No one ever thought that this sort of communal rights can take place between Kuki and Metis. This, I don't think we ever thought in our wisdom, and I've stayed there for about 2-3 years. We never thought that they are so much apart from each other. Everyone thought they are staying in hills, they are staying in plains, they are slightly different, but that's it. We never thought they can have such a enmity between each other that a situation can come to an extent where you need to have a buffer zone. But having said so, one can say as far as out of all these problems, I suppose the Nagaland problem was looking the
Right.
most
I think,
complex,
General, I completely
difficult
agree.
to handle.
I agree with you, General. You are right. Manipur is an exception. Manipur, you are right. I completely agree with you. Manipur actually is an exception in all these theatres, sir.
Yeah, Manipur, no one thought that it will take such a turn, that the right taking place between Metis and Kukis will be so much, that there will be so much enmity between both these tribes. Everyone thought that they are in hills. Obviously, everyone knew it, that Metis are 53%, but the biggest problem is that they can only own a land in the plain. They cannot own a land in hills. They are not got scheduled tribe status. But that was, very silent. No one was making an issue. But the way it happened on 3rd May and the way we possibly not able to handle it properly, the situation has gone out of hand. I hope and pray that we bring it back, because Manipur is a very, very important state. The most difficult nut to crack was Nagaland. Nagaland, very correctly said, is a frozen insurgency. Things are very quiet. And I'm sure the government of India is working very sincerely to sign some pact. But one thing is very clear. The problem in Myanmar, the military junta is not in control. Number of militant groups are operating. And in Bangladesh, new government coming, which may not be aligned to the interest of India, there is a problem. And therefore, we have to be very, very careful now, because this is a cocktail, both sides. You can have a militant camp and ISI will play a role. So we should able to crack, it is a multi-pronged strategy. We go after the terrorist and militant group, and those whom we can sign a pact, especially Nagaland, I suppose a time has come wherein we should push it and sign some sort of pact. Now, another point which is there, Katika, everyone talking this Sioux, that suspension of operation as far as cookies are concerned. If on our platform, whenever you discuss, when you find someone from the other community, Mati, he immediately say the Sioux should be now done away with. But remember, it has been signed after a lot of discussion. It should not be, because it is working. Why it is working? The weapons are still intact, and whatever may be the militancy, the Sioux should continue. We should move further rather than going back.
Okay. Suhas, I think, though we were talking about Tripura, but the General made a comment on the Sioux. Are you of the same opinion?
Oh, absolutely. See, to bring somebody across the table, it's not an easy task. That's the first step that, backdoor negotiations, to have somebody across the table, it's not easy. And if you, do not continue, then you directly go into conflicts and you play into the situation which is prevailing in Myanmar, and nobody is in control of that. So therefore, the suspension of operations should be continued, and whatever is spoken by some of the groups from, Manipur, the Metis, they basically look at from the narrow prism of the conflict between the two communities. But the government of India has to ensure, security of the state beyond the two communities. And I think we have to bear in mind that the emerging situation in Myanmar, which we already have talked quite a lot, as well as in Bangladesh.
Suhas, today, why did I decide to do Tripura, Suhas? The reason why, to point out, there are success stories in the Northeast. There are issues. For example, Chakmas are homeless in Northeast. The people who have come across the border because of the so-called problem they are facing in Bangladesh, they are spread all over Northeast. There are issues of refugees, diaspora, but there are success stories also. And Tripura is a success story.
Yes, but with respect to the Chakmas, we have to bear in mind that the only people who have come as refugees are the Chakmas in Arunachal Pradesh in 1964, after the construction of the dam and religious persecution. The Chakmas in Mizoram, half of Mizoram, the entire western belt, actually was given to the Lusai Hills at that point of time by the British in 1900. So the Chakmas who live along the Chittagong tracks and Mizoram border, they are actually they are original inhabitants there, because the British at that point of time did not go there. And Tripura, we are in any case original inhabitants.
Suhas, that's another half an hour with you. That's another half an hour with you, Suhas, a proper half an hour with you and General Siwach on this issue. I'm dedicated to the issues of Northeast. I'm telling you.